My name is Pete Smyth. I was born in Dublin in 1950. I left school when I was 13. I became a silk screen printer, display artist, sign maker. I was doing that most of my life, and then in the late 80s, during the recession, I lost my job and everything else, and we moved up to Cushland Park in Tallaght.
So my name is Trish Lambe and I'm a curator here in Gallery Photography in Meeting House Square in Dublin. Pete's work within Irish photography, Pete's work would fit into a very broad family of documentary photographers. Tony O'Shea, Leo Regan, Derek Spears, who are all kind of excellent black and white photographers, but they each have very much their own particular style or their own particular way of working, and their work is quite easily identified, so they're all carve very particular niches. There are people then in Northern Ireland like Frankie Quinn or Bill Kirk who would be working a similar way in that they work in their local area in a very engaged way, but Pete's work is very identifiable by the fact that it's been made in Tallaght.
I'm opening an exhibition in the Rural Red Gallery on the 12th of April this year. It's called Local. And then around Christmas in the Gallery of Photography, the same exhibition will be on. It'll be the Christmas show, and I'll also be launching a book also called Local.
So we're currently working on Pete's upcoming show here in Gallery Photography, and the body of work is going to be presented as under the title Local. So we're just working with Pete at the moment on final edits, and so the show will contain a number of Pete's series. One of the earliest bodies of work that Pete made was a body of work made in the Killinarden estate with his neighbours called View from the Dirt. So that's one series. There's also a series of portraits he made of traveller women. So that would be another series within the work. And then in the central main space of the gallery, there'll be a mixture of work created over the 30-year period. So to give a very expansive overview of Pete's work.
It'll be work I've done over the years. I started photographing, as I said earlier, about 88, 89. Photographs of traveller women in particular. I worked with them on a number of small kind of magazines and books, local traveller agencies and that. That work would be in it. And then this new work I'm making, which is kind of features my local pub, the Killinarden House, and the kind of stuff that goes on in that pub, which is quite exciting. Most of my work is like photographing where I live, and I've lived there now for 30 years, like portraiture and I suppose social documentary photography. Yeah, I suppose for the want of a better word, left-wing photography. I don't know if it's such a thing really.
So Pete's work is social engaged, humanist, black and white photography. So he has worked very consistently and over a long period of time with the same community. So it would be informed, I suppose, by his slightly to the left politics and his broader work as an activist within the community. There are classic portraits of traveller women and his neighbours, and then there are also some more abstract work which be a little bit more nuanced and dark in their aesthetic, and there are also a series of landscapes of Tallaght that chart the evolution of Tallaght from outlying housing estate to a city in its own right.
You see an awful lot of abject poverty, queuing for cans of corned beef from the EU, stuff like that. But the thing that impressed me hugely on what the exhibition The View from the Dirt was about was in the middle of all this there was remarkable resilience, so I attempted to photograph that. Again, I'm conscious I've been photographing in my local pub for the last 3 years, and again it's a place where even though this country seems to have kind of risen out of the doldrums after the dreadful crash a few years ago, I still find that the problems that were there when I moved up in 1988, they're still pretty much there.
This exhibition is unusual in that Pete is a colleague of ours, but we actually knew Pete through his own photography work before he came to work here. Pete is actually one of the leading fine art black and white printers in the country, and we've been aware of Pete's own work as an artist outside of his work here in the gallery. And I suppose the main question is, would we be giving Pete an exhibition if he wasn't a member of staff? And actually yes, we very firmly would, because there are very few people who have chosen to cover their own community in such an engaged and embedded way over such a long period of time. So it is actually, in terms of that role that photography has to take in photographing the world and showing the world around us, it's a really important body of work. There's very few people who have worked within places like, which would be considered to be areas of social deprivation in the way that Pete has. So it's a very important body of work to reflect where we are now in contemporary Ireland.
Well, I come up with black and white photography, and I like all the guys like William Klein. I think I might have said this, David Mariama, and all those great black and white photographers. And I think black and white photography has a drama, taking photographs in colour, and again, I think it's a different way of looking at the world or something. Inherent in black and white, even the picture itself is not dramatic. There's a drama there in the nature of the print.
There have been plenty of projects done that might have lasted a year or two, which is quite a long time. But Pete has continued to work over what is now a 30-year period. And that's what's kind of unusual about it. And he's very much part of the community, so it's not a case of with a lot of photographers where they might consider themselves to be 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Pete is very firmly 2 feet in the community, so he's both an insider and an observer at the same time.
It's documentary, yeah. I'd like my style to be unique to me, but I think it's because I'm influenced so many other great photographers. I'm not a great photographer, I'm a pretty good photographer. That you kind of, in a funny way, you're kind of trying to maybe not emulate them, but do stuff with a similar passion and with a similar concern.